to this episode of the Garrett&Eric podcast. Uh, I'm wearing a cape this time because I thought I'd support my school colors.
Yep,
No
Clemson
other
man.
reason. Clemson man. No need to look into that further. The end.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm seeing Tenet tomorrow, the new Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, which I just now remembered what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, give me the basic premise because I kind of remember like vaguely, but I don't really know what's going on. Or
That's
give me what you know going in. Like, what makes you excited about it?
well, what makes me excited about it is that it's Christopher Nolan, and he usually makes good stuff, and he hasn't made a
Yeah.
movie in a while, so he's coming out with this. I liked his last movie, which I think was Interstellar. I think that was his last one. So
Yeah, Interstellar was cool.
yeah, I think it's kind of like the same kind of like time bending premise, where it's just gonna be like, not obviously not like space or whatever, but
Yeah.
dealing with the reversal or the manipulation of time. That's what gets me excited, is like revisiting that kind of concept and a lot more action than Interstellar, because Interstellar was so sad. Like, I just watched a video about it, a breakdown of it or whatever, and it's just so sad. This one looks less sad, at least. I thought I guess I'd start with the main character dying. But I don't know. I don't know much about it going in. I'm just excited because it's a Christopher Nolan movie, and he usually makes good stuff.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to like go to the movies. Like, I haven't been to the movies since coronavirus like whole thing started.
Yeah.
I got the Regal Unlimited thing. I was paying like $21 a month or whatever it was to be able to go to unlimited movies, and then movie theaters closed down, and I didn't have to keep paying. Like they ceased charging everyone, but I was like I wanted to pay for it because I wanted to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know what they're gonna do as far as bringing it back, or like what the timeline is. If they're gonna like reinstate my old membership or I have to start a new one.
Yeah. They'll
But the
probably
idea of having to go and pay for a movie makes me salty. I'm like, hey, bro, I was supposed to be out of that club. I was supposed to be,
Yeah.
I was supposed to be a premium member, and now I'm just like, crap. You tell me I have to pay for the box office? Ugh.
Well, they froze all the points on my account because I don't have like a premium account. I just have like the Regal app standard, and it
Yeah,
looks like they froze all my points. So like, I guess
yeah,
I don't know when they're gonna resume like the cycle of those.
yeah. I don't know the timeline, but one thing I will say is, for some reason, Cinemark stock has been doing well recently.
Maybe
But
are they international?
Cinemark, I don't know, but I know they're like, because the biggest theaters in America are AMC and Cinemark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Regal is a huge one, but they're owned by a European company,
Called
so you can't.
Cineworld.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't trade them.
So, as you know, I invested a lot into Cinemark because I had to pick between Cinemark and AMC. I didn't pick AMC because, huh?
You didn't tell me that.
Oh, well,
Last I heard, you were investing in Cineworld and then found out that you couldn't.
yeah. Well, okay. So, oh, okay. Well, so here's like are you cool with me like transitioning into that topic?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay. So yeah, like essentially the breakdown is, you knew I was going to invest in some airlines. That was my plan.
Yeah.
Okay, just for the podcast in general, just throwing it out there. What happened is I had I had some money sitting in my savings account, and I looked at what my year APR would be if I just let the money sit in the account, which was 0.05% or something like that. No, or 0.01. It was something trash.
Yeah.
Because it's just a savings account, standard savings account. I think it was between 1% and 5%. Either way, I was like, okay, I could probably beat that, like just doing anything with the money myself.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows, you take econ class or anything like that, the way people who are wealthy get wealthy is by making their money work for them. You don't just want to have money sitting around. So I took that concept and I was like, I'm going to invest in the stock market because I just think the stock market's cool. Who doesn't want to invest in the stock market? I was like, I'll see if I can beat, that return.
Yeah.
Currently, last I checked, I'll pull it up right now just as part of this conversation. So the whole point is, though, I invested in some airlines,
Mm-hmm.
and my main investment was Cinemark.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all the movie theaters I looked at, whoa, dang. Of all the movie theaters I looked at, other than Cineworld, which is the group that acquired Regal, which is my favorite movie theater, Cinemark's share looked more like it had more upside potential than AMC. And AMC, their stock was kind of cheap. I don't know, it just didn't seem good to me. So I got 8.9 shares of Delta Airlines. I got 60 shares of Cinemark because Cinemark was like my main bet. I got 22 shares of American Airlines, and I got 7.7 shares of United Airlines.
Jeez.
So that's my full portfolio right now. My initial investment was $1,420. The current value of my portfolio is $1,831. So I'm up about 29.3%. And, that's not bad, being up 29% on an investment, because once again, remember the fact that my savings account would have made me like 3% or 2%. So, and that would have required me to leave the money for a full year untouched. Then I'd get that. Or this, it's only been 3 months. So yeah, the whole point of what I was trying to say though is that was kind of a ramble, but just now and podcast knows like what's up. So if I ever talk about stocks randomly, it's not just because I'm like, got a stock fetish randomly. I'm invested, so it matters. I pay attention. Yeah. But the whole point I'm trying to make is Cinemark was doing really well, especially over the last few days. When I bought Cinemark, it was like at $11, right? And it was at like I think 17 yesterday, which it's not like a huge movement.
Yeah.
I mean, like people, obviously something like Tesla, like 5x'd its value, but that's very, very rare in the stock market. And that level of instability comes with a lot of risk. But something like this is just the natural growth that I kind of assume would happen based on the fact that as the coronavirus stuff faded, we would allow people to go back to theaters and back to that kind of stuff, And that's what's been happening. Like my investments have been steadily growing because all the companies I invested in have been steadily gaining steam as, regulations and restrictions kind of get, taken away. But I was just happy to see Cinemark doing so well because I was like, yo, Cinemark, my guy. Like, what's up? Because I own 60 shares, I get like the most return.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, what's going on there? I see you're doing well. And I'm like, looking up Cinemark, trying to see why they're doing so well. And I couldn't find any like concrete reason. I think apparently it's just because for some, like Cinemark got some deal with some digital distributors.
Yeah.
So people just were like, hey, I like that. But all in all, it's been a really interesting experiment,
Yeah.
And I'm glad to say, like, I'm glad to see, like, how easy it was to do. Because I think, I mean, you and I have both talked about the stock market and how we thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it's one of those things that, like, if you don't know about it, it can be very intimidating. It's like the stock market, like, ooh, fluctuations, adversity, like danger,
Yeah.
And if you take a personal finance class, they're like, never trade on the stock market, get a brokerage and like, put your long-term investments aside. But they don't really like think people should trade and like do like, like any real movement within like a year, within a few months. But sometimes if you're someone who has the time to like pay attention to it and the capital to invest, it could be something good to do in the background,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, right now, if I took out that money, I will have made $400 for just like, I mean, very little work. I mean, I just kind of like looked at it and I was like, this will probably do well. And I did a little bit of research, but I'm no pro. I mean, I have no like formal education on this.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's a cool avenue for anyone. But the moral of the story is, dude, like pray for Cinemark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want Cinemark to have a million good days and to only ever do well.
I will definitely keep my fingers crossed for you. And I don't know what I'll invest in, but I'll probably start investing soon, as soon as I start door dashing again, because I stopped because like they screwed me over, and then I was like, oh, I'm so butthurt. But then I looked
Yeah.
at my bank account, and I was like, I'm not that butthurt.
You're like, hey, DoorDash, like it's been a while, you guys know I'm still here for
Yeah,
you, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And my dad saw an interview with the CEO of DoorDash.
Mm.
Apparently, he spent the entire time just dodging questions. They're just like, you know, how are you gonna improve employee benefits during the coronavirus? And you're like, like I'm not. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just
Excuse
want to
me.
get some money on the side, and the CEO's a dumbass, but I can make some money. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
excuse me. Sorry about that. But yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, I think like I like good CEOs.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool when like Tesla's a company where I feel like a lot of people who invest in Tesla really are just investing in Elon Musk.
yeah, for
But I
sure.
think like he's a cool guy. He pulls investors. Like ever since he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, I was like, this dude's legit. I already thought he was
Yeah,
awesome. I mean, just the way he talks about his projects, his passion for engineering and innovation, it's so apparent.
yeah,
And the way he talked about Tesla and like some of the features, they were like, well, what's the purpose of having the car be able to go this fast or be able to do this? And he was like, well, it's cool, isn't it? Like he was like, or it's fun. And it's just like,
yeah,
yes, like, thank you, dog. Like, and he always says with his cars, he's like, I want people to be able to buy something that's fun, not just buy like a car.
yeah,
And I was just like, once again, like you're spitting straight facts right now.
yeah,
So
for sure.
I personally just think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think he's someone who's kind of, oh, sorry, he's always working on like cool projects,
Yeah.
like Neuralink.
Mm-hmm.
You heard about Neuralink?
Yeah, I have like well, right now it's like an implanted chip in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
That's what it's gonna be.
they did their first like actual like product reveal and like all that stuff
Yeah,
last week or earlier this week, one of the two. And I didn't watch the whole thing because like it was like a long, like it was a long thing, but I watched like a compressed video of it. And I've been following Neuralink for like ever since he talked about it on the podcast. Before he could really even say anything, I've been following the company just because I was like, what an interesting concept.
yeah,
And my mom and I kind of got into a discussion about it because, of course, it's like the whole morality of it and the whole like, isn't that dangerous and isn't that something you
yeah.
wouldn't want? And I'm just like, I mean, yes, but also,
I don't want it. Like if it comes out and everyone's just like, I love Neuralink, and like they all want chips in their brain, that's on them. I don't want
hmm,
that. I don't want
yeah,
chips in my brain. I don't want like my brain to like have a bug or a virus or something, and then I can't stop thinking about like the grilled cheese sandwich ad that I saw 2 weeks ago. It's like, what? No, I don't want to think about that anymore. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like I
Well,
feel like it's eventually just gonna get to a point where it's just like
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
separate myself to some extent from technology.
yeah. Now, something interesting is the initial use for it is going to be pretty much medical,
Yeah.
and they want to use it to help people who've been paralyzed or people with Alzheimer's or
Mm.
people who like can't, anything like that. It's
Yeah.
something, the first thing I thought about was like, well, what if someone lost their sense of smell? Like, could you
Like me.
like restore that junk?
Yeah.
And at least Musk thinks they can. He thinks they'll be able to restore like lost senses, even up to sight, hearing,
Freak.
because,
Yeah, we'll get a chip. I miss smelling. I miss smelling things so much.
and like, well, and that's the thing. I was like, it becomes this whole like kind of scale of, I was like, there are a lot of people who could benefit from all the medical benefits of this technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it becomes a thing of like, I wonder to individuals, will it be worth it? Like the idea, like, and you're of course like a great person to ask because like you're someone who like the idea, obviously not right away, but like down the
Yeah.
line, if it's a vetted thing and it's safe and people have it and like no one's going crazy or losing their mind,
Yeah.
is it
Or
something
just
you consider to like regain the sense, or is like, what do you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think about it?
I mean, it depends on all that goes into it. I mean,
Mm,
like I don't want to be able to surf the web in my brain, which is like I think his final. That's the
Mm,
final step of Neuralink. I don't want to be able to surf the web on my brain. I
mm,
don't want to be able to see ads or listen to music through just thinking about it. But
yeah.
if it's solely returning my sense of smell and there's no like other kind of weird kooky things that it does,
Mm.
yeah, I'd be down for it.
Yeah, well, that's what's really interesting is right now. So essentially, what it is, he described it as like a Fitbit for your brain. you know,
Yeah, I
like
don't want a Fitbit for my brain. I just want my smell
yeah,
back. I don't need
yeah,
it to record my calories or anything like that. I
oh yeah.
just want my smell back.
Well, he didn't mean so much in the sense of its functionality, but
Mm,
more in its ease of use.
okay.
So the way it works is it's implanted. It's like a little chip. It's like I think it's 35 millimeters wide and 8 millimeters long, tall.
Mm-hmm.
Which, as he said, is very convenient because it can flush perfectly with the skull. So like it doesn't like stand out. It doesn't mess with your hair or anything. It's literally just subdermal.
Mm-hmm.
And they lay it like they put it where you're like in your skull, and then there are like little like wires that are like hair thin, and they lay them out over like your neurons, and then that allows, and then they seal up your skull, and they like tape your head. They don't tape it. They close your head,
Mm,
and then you're done. Something interesting is this surgery will never be performed by a human being because Elon is notorious for not trusting humans. So it'll only ever be done by robots that he and his team have designed. And once again, I think this is like, I think it just shows the kind of guy he is. He's like, I'm going to like, I mean, he started out creating PayPal, then
mm-hmm.
he made cars, then he made spaceships. Now he's like, I'm going to make, not only am I going to make a technology, the first ever like implant technology of this caliber, I'm also going to design and engineer the robots that implant it, that are able to do a level of neurosurgery with a higher level of, you know, precision than any human surgeon can. And it's going to be way safer and also make it cheaper. And their whole idea, once they have it fully set up, they want people to be able to come in, get their Neuralink, and leave and go home the same day. They don't want you to have to stay overnight or anything like that. You just go into the clinic, they'll implant it, the robot will implant it for you, they'll make sure you're okay, boop, 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 and then you leave. And they only want to make it priced like, a couple $1,000s, you know.
Jesus Christ. Okay. You know what? Maybe not on this. Like, you're freaking
But
me out. Like, Jason, no, no,
what?
none of that. No,
what?
no.
What? You don't like efficiency?
Efficiency is fine. That has to be fleshed out over like, that's like 50 years of technological advancements. So
What is?
like, I don't, I need my sense of smell back, but I also need like my brain to not get smushed by a robot that just like read a zero as a
Yeah.
one, and now my brain is all over the freaking medical floor.
Yeah. Well, okay. So first of all, yeah, that's a fair, concern. But once again, it's important to remember, like, machines don't really make they make mistakes, but not at the level that humans do.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they damage control. Like, it's not like, I'm sure it's not gonna be some like place where it's just like the robots are running wildly doing whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, because robots are already used for surgeries even in the medical field,
Mm-hmm.
like just for traditional medicine, because robots can just be so much more precise than people can,
Yeah.
and it's actually just safer. In the same way, I'm sure they're going to be way on their P's and Q's because he knows the importance and the fragility of this idea, this concept. People are not
Yeah.
going to be initially trusting to this. A lot of people wouldn't even drive a self-driving car out of the fear of it getting hacked or being messed with, let
Yeah.
alone having a chip implanted subdurally into their brain.
Yeah. I can trust a self-driving car because I know that the people who designed it
Mm,
know how to drive. But like
yeah.
Elon Musk doesn't know anything about surgery. He's not a medical doctor.
But the thing is, that's not how it works because it's an AI robot. It's a machine learning robot. It's not like there's no humans like going like that's not how robots work. Like, you don't take a robot and go like, watch my hand, watch my hand. At least not when it's doing machine learning. When it's doing machine learning, the like simplest way to put it is you give it an objective. In this case, it's going to be remove some skin, remove like get some, make a hole in the skull, implant the robot, lay out the wires, replace the skull, replace the skin, sew it all up, and do it with like minimal like time and risk to the patient, and it'll do it. And what you do is you have a computer, you have a network of computers, because the thing is, you don't actually need the robot to actually be doing anything. It's running simulations. This is why machine learning, advances exponentially faster than humans ever could, because you get like 100 computers and they're all running this surgery simulation thousands of times every day, nonstop, for like 2 weeks. And then that's the equivalent of like 5,000 years of humans trying to do the surgery, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a company called OpenAI?
Yeah.
Yeah, so OpenAI I know about because you know that game Dota 2 I play.
Mm-hmm.
So OpenAI made a Dota 2 team
Mm-hmm.
of AI. It was just like there was no real players. It was just a bunch of, they gave some computers the task of learning how to play the game, right?
Yeah.
And they had them practice the game for like 3 months. And then they went to the International, the biggest tournament in the world, and the robots beat the pros. They had a 100% win rate. They beat every professional team of humans, including the team that actually won the world championship that year. They beat them all. They devastated them. The humans could not even get kills. They couldn't even get objectives. They couldn't get anything off the map because they were getting just destroyed. Because even though these humans had, each person on the team, the least experienced player by hours that the robots played against had 12,000 hours in game. But the robots, because of how much time they had, so many computers running the same simulation,
Mm-hmm.
and the robots would play against each other themselves. They would
Mm-hmm.
mirror their own code and compete against themselves. So the robots had like, over 50,000 hours of experience each. It was infinitely better than a person. And people used to always say, well, AI won't be able to beat us at complex tasks. Dota is an extremely complex game. There are like over 100, or not 100, there are like 60 objectives on the map. There are 3 lanes. There's a massive map. There are over 110 characters that all do totally different things. And the AI, 100% of the time, built a perfect team and won every single game.
Yeah, but it's a game. It's not surgery.
But the idea is a surgery is not even as complex as this game is, though. In reality, like, what do robots do well? Precision and accuracy. They do tasks, right? So if a robot could learn how to like do all of these things digitally, because once again, physical movement, we already know we're not that like this. We're not that good at this. This isn't very precise at all. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's something where the robots are already way better than us. So it's more the question of, can they do the task? And the answer is, indubitably yes. Because once again, at this point, it doesn't matter how complex the task is, how many layers are, how intricate it is. You just tell the machine, you just program it to learn it, and then it'll do it thousands and thousands and thousands of times, whereas human counterpart is incapable of practicing that much, like, even in their lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
Like, one robot will have 10 times the experience of one human surgeon that could ever have in his life.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the world's best surgeons, the world's best neurosurgeons are no longer necessary because it's like, you're not as good as this robot that we just bought from Elon Musk. Sorry, bro.
Yeah. I
I think
think
that's
the
just
difference is like I
progression.
could destroy that robot with a rare earth magnet. I can't destroy like a surgeon with that. They're so much more fragile.
But they're really not. Like, that's once again, I think it's a common fallacy that you have to, like, once again, really consider it and look at it to understand. Like, people talk about, if I drive a Tesla, I'm at risk of being hacked. I'm at risk of being like, what if someone messes with my like power? Everything, every possible risk you could think of to your Tesla, you are at, an exponentially higher risk driving a mechanical vehicle, because people will say, what if someone hacks my car to kill me? First of all, who's trying to kill you, bro? Nobody.
Mhm.
Everyone always says that kind of stuff. It's like, no, yeah, someone's like, oh no, we got to stop this guy from getting from his 9 to 5. He
Yeah.
might mess around and complain about complain to corporate about freaking Kathy. Like no one cares about you that much. People have this super inflated sense of importance to the world. It's like no one's trying to kill you, bro. And even if they were, it's way, way easier to go into a mechanical car and simply cut the brakes, change the alignment just a little bit on the steering wheel, do anything of that nature. That's very easy to do. People have been doing it. But because the Tesla's such a new car, you can't just crack it open and just let me just make a few tweaks. You can't do that.
Dude,
And because it has software, it's software driven like vehicle,
yeah.
it could alert you that something's wrong with the steering wheel, something's wrong with the brakes, and it would alert you. So it's actually once again safer. In the same way that a robot, people would say, well, a robot could be tampered with. You think they're not going to, like, once again consider that when designing it? And once again, also, who's tampering with your robot? So you've had surgeries before.
Yeah.
Who was tampering with those doctors? Because once again, it's important to consider the fact that with human doctors, we already know human doctors, like if you look at, like death statistics in any developed country, and you look at death from complications due to anything, all that means is the person died under their care, and they were like, yeah, it's complicated, bro. Like, stuff happened. Like, things developed. That could, if they mess up a surgery, if they nick an artery, if they don't diagnose properly in time, those are all complications. Those are all things where they're like, yeah, bro, like junk got wild. Couldn't really keep it going, doctors, every year, thousands and thousands of patients die because doctors were incapable of taking care of the patient. So once again, the introduction of the robot doctor is because the robot's just going to fail less. It's not to say it'll never miss a diagnosis, but it's going to be way more accurate than a person could ever be. Like, it's an interesting concept, but it's like what I've found, just the more research I've done, is people always think like, no, this is like a unique thing that we as people do well. It's like, no, we don't. We just don't. Like, we just don't do stuff better than AI. It's just it's like us, but even more advanced and just better. Unfortunately, I mean, I think different. Like, obviously, it's better at a lot of things, and that's why people always say, well, what if AI takes over? At this point, I'm like, this is just GG for us. Like, like, and Elon Musk says, he said one time, he thinks he's like, if you think about a reason that we exist, he's like, one of those reasons could be to be a precursor to AI, because he's like, once we create it and it's fully like, autonomous, he's like, it really will have no need for us unless it wants to have us around,
He scares me, dog. Elon Musk scares me.
Why?
He's kind of scary. He's a little scary. Gotta be honest with you, Chief. Him and like, who's the other guy who like predicted that AI would take over? Was it Stephen Hawking before he passed?
I don't know.
I don't know. That shit's like, that's scary.
Yeah.
That's like what, like, we created computers and they're gonna take over us. I mean, they can't even tell if we're robots or not, dog. We have to take a little test for that. They're not very good at recognizing faces either. I mean, some technology is better than others, but like what's on the market today is not that great at it.
Yeah. See, so like if you want to so real quick about that OpenAI thing I was telling you about. So what actually happened when it was first created, it did lose twice. It lost first to a team called Team Secret. Then it lost at the International, which is the biggest championship. That was 2019.
Yeah.
Fast forward to later in 2019, and from then on, it's never lost a game. Like, it hasn't lost since then, because it had like an adjustment period, and then it just stopped losing.
Yeah.
Another thing was really cool was they gave it like a one-on-one, right? they made like a one-on-one bot, and they took all of the individual best players in the world, the most mechanically skilled human individuals there are, and like they couldn't beat it because once again, it's just better. Like even though, and that's what I don't understand about it. It's like it doesn't even have a brain. Like how is it? Like all the like little. I mean, it's hard for you to probably conceptualize because you don't play Dota, but just think about, imagine in Smash Bros.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't really comparable, but just think of it like that. Like it's like if the bot could beat you 100% of the time, and there was no way for you to beat it. Like you just didn't have a technique, you didn't have a way in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Another thing they made recently, OpenAI, they made this hide and seek game, right?
Yeah.
And have you seen anything about that?
Mm-mm.
They taught these bots how to play hide and seek in this like 3D playground, and they would play hide and seek with each other, and they would try to make it more and more, like humans would try to make it more and more complex for them to find each other, but they always would. You know, they started climbing on each other to like see over walls, or they would pull parts of the environment like laying around and stack them so they could climb over barriers and like do all this crazy stuff.
Jesus.
And it's just like the rate at which they learn anything before them, it's just so high. And now the stuff I find really interesting is like they have them making music and making poetry, all those things people said that AI can never do, they already do, and it's really good. Like I just look up like AI generated poetry,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll read some of it and you're like, this sounds like it could have been written by, you know, Shakespeare or any of them. It's like, nah, it's written by freaking like Doobot. Because people always, you know, and I used to think it too. I was ignorant. I thought that creativity was something unique to humans. Turns out you could program creativity. Drat.
Yeah,
You know, I think, you know, what makes me nervous is the idea that one day, like, why would a magazine want to hire journalists and writers? That costs so much money. You buy this robot or this software for $5,000, and it'll write for you for the rest of your company's time. You don't need to regularly pay someone and give them insurance and deal with their complaints about workplace, you know, whatever, any of that crap.
They tried to do that. They'd made a Facebook like thing like that, like a robot like that, and they it just became a Nazi.
Oh, you're talking about? Oh yeah, I remember what you're talking about. Like when they just, well, that's the algorithm, right? And
It's
think
all
about the
algorithms.
huh?
It's all algorithms. They'd have to write a new algorithm. They'd have to, you know,
Well,
work.
yeah, because
Where's the robot going to get its information? From the news? It is the news. And then what happens? We're literally just giving them control over the media? What's happening? Why? Why are we letting ones and zeros control the entire media in this fabricated reality? I mean, I guess humans aren't really good at it, but, you know, at least we can see where their biases lean. If it's like Robot Jones, there's no inflection in their voice, there's no emotion behind it. We don't know what their biases are. We don't know what they're like trying to get us to think. You know what I'm saying? Because the media controls a lot. Controls a lot of like public perception and everything. So if we give that to robots, we're giving like our entire culture to robots almost.
Yeah.
This is why we should go to the Buddhist Templars and just be like, hey, we don't need any of this stuff anymore. Just take us. Strip us of all of our stuff. Give us some freaking rags, and I'll live here for, you know, as long as I can stand it. Because this is scary.
Yeah.
You know.
See, I don't. Like, dude, check this out. Oh, I don't know. To me, it's like, it's the most interesting thing ever. And I'm just like, should I go to college and like learn it? Coding's never been like, it's never been the most interesting thing to me, the most appealing thing.
Yeah.
I just have to accept the fact that like I may one day be irrelevant to the market because of my not learning it, you know.
Yeah.
But check this out. So if you go to OpenAI's website, right? I'll share screen share with you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Can you enable that?
Yeah. Hold up. I'll get that. Well, actually, I could just pause for now.
All right, so we're back. That's what I wanted to show you. So this is their website. Now this is like for people who actually want to try it out and like use the software.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how it works, bro. I really don't even want your API. I just want to like see cool stuff that I know your technology can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen some of this stuff before, like AI Dungeon. It's this cool thing where it's like a Dungeons and Dragons game,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll make a whole campaign for you. It builds the environment. It makes enemies. It does everything, and it's just totally procedurally generated by the computer. And then let me see if I can find. I wanted to show you like some of the cool stuff they could do, but this is like a super specific thing I'm on right now. This is like the beta. But I don't care about. I don't actually want your technology, dude. Oh yeah, this is really cool. I'm hyped for this. It's you know what a polyglot is.
Mm-mm.
It's someone who speaks different languages.
Oh, okay.
But they're always trying to improve their AI's ability to translate all languages.
Mm-hmm.
But they're thinking within the next 5 to 10 years, but definitely a lot of people say 5. They'll have some software that'll be able to totally translate pretty much all of like the still spoken languages.
Yeah.
Like within seconds. But this is that thing I was telling you about a second ago. AI Dungeon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you literally put new game, single player, right? And there's all these settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's say fantasy's recommended, but let's say I wanted a mystery, dude, because freak that jump. I want to be a spy.
Is this free?
Yep. All of OpenAI stuff is free.
It's open.
Yeah, they're open source, like which means like people can do it. So now it's gonna like just start like giving me all this stuff, and it'll
Yeah.
give you quests. You'll eventually have an inventory system, all this stuff, and it's just procedurally generated, and there's multiplayer as well.
That
And
looks dope.
yeah, and that's just something like, and once again, because OpenAI, all their projects start out for fun. Like that's why they have like the whole tag. They had the whole tag thing.
Yeah.
I
Or hide and
mean,
seek, you mean?
yeah, hide and seek.
Yeah. I definitely will try that out. It looks like advanced Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
Text-based.
Mm.
And I've been looking for more text-based games because Oregon Trail is hard as freak.
Yeah.
So hard. For no reason. I don't know why they made it so hard. But back in the day, they were really just like, we're super bored and want to spend hours on the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I think this might be a good place to wrap up the old podcast. Thank you for listening to the Garrett and Eric podcast. We will see you on episode 12, where we talk about whatever comes up.
Probably cartoons. Probably cartoons of the 2010s.
Yeah. And we have a lot to say. So until next time, au revoir.